Hey guys, this video is for the week 31 for biology, and in this video we're going to continue to talk about the animal zoo project and the next steps that you have to do and you want to be focusing on throughout this week. Hopefully you are to the point where you have the things from last week completed, which are emailing me the top 3 animal choices, completing your biology summary sheet, and your initial drawing. Okay, so you have to have those 3 things done before you move on to what we're working on in this week. Okay, so this video is primarily dealing with the scale drawing, and we'll look at that in 1 second. And the zoo exhibit presentation is something you will be working on after you have the scale drawing completed. Okay, all of these things are going to be will be accepted through Monday, April 6th until midnight. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me and let me know. But for right now, we're going to go to the scale drawing, and we're going to kind of take a look at what the expectations are for that, as well as what you want to be doing as you're making it from your initial drawing. So if you remember, the initial drawing video, if we take a quick look at that, that was dealing with the penguin example at the Akron Zoo exhibit, and just basically how we want, or how the exhibit is displayed, and how you're going to create your own original exhibit for the animal that you chose. So one important thing to know from the scale drawing or for this assignment is that each box that we see here is 7.5 by 7.5 feet, which, for example, if you have if you take 3 of the cafeteria tables and put them next to each other, that would be about one of these boxes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And so that's pretty big. And basically what that means is if you are using this whole sheet or all of these boxes, your exhibit is not only too large, but it's probably larger than any other exhibit on the planet, right? So your assignment is not going to be using this whole scale drawing handout, and you want to just kind of use this as a grid or as a template when you're showing your scale drawing. Okay. So we're going to take that initial sketch for the penguins, and you're going to do that for your initial sketches and convert it into a bird's eye view and kind of a layout of your exhibit. I will give you feedback on your initial sketches to make sure you're doing it correctly, and then after that you can start building a proper scale model. So we're going to start here, and good thing about Notability is we can zoom in, because our scale drawing, at least for the penguins and probably for yours as well, is not going to be that big with how much space we have. Okay, so if you remember, we started off with the water, and there's gravel. There's also a place for the zookeeper, things like that. So I'm just going to start here, and we'll say roughly that the size of the penguin water pool is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll say it's 7.5 by 7.5 squares long and 2 squares wide. Also, what we should be doing as you're building it is to have or maintain a key. So this is our water exhibit part for the penguins. Next from the video, we also had some gravel. All right, so if we just kind of think about what that was looking like, or looking at the initial sketch, it kind of juts out, goes back around, and circles like that. That would be our gravel part, or part of our animal exhibit. Okay. Also, we had our visitor section, right, with the stairs and the penguin statues. So we'll start here, kind of go down. We're trying to use a rough estimation of how big this is going to be, right? We really want to make sure we're not using too many squares, or that we fill up the whole page, and we're just kind of keeping it in perspective. Right, so if we go back down here, this is our visitor section. We also have if we go back up, we had that refrigerator or the back of the house off exhibit for the zookeepers to be working. Kind of like that. And one of the last things is the off-site exhibit where the penguins can go. So remember there were these kind of like canine holes, or like these holes where the penguins can nest, things like that. There was the quarantine section if the penguins are bullying, and just if they need some time away from the group, that's where those are going to go. And so that would be our off-site animal exhibit. So make sure you have a key for all of this. And so that's kind of the first part of the scale drawing. The next thing we need to work on or focus on is the basically this is a 2D model, but we also want to see how tall our exhibits or our projections structures are going to go. Okay, and what we need to know for that is the feet above sea level, also called FAS. Okay, so we're going to label different, or each part of our exhibit and our scale drawing, and we're going to label it how far above sea level it is. Our standard in the Akron Zoo, feet above sea level, is 1,040 feet. So that is like where the visitors are standing on the sidewalk. So everything, all of your numbers should be around 1,040. If you have something at 500 or 2,000, that's not just, I'm going to tell you now, that's not correct. So have it somewhere within this range. We'll kind of go through this penguin example here and start figuring out where these feet are found. So if you think about the visitor section, again, that's like the sidewalk, that's going to be around 1,040. If we think about the pool for the penguins, it kind of slopes up. So like this is the shallower part, and then it gets high up here. So we'll label two sections. The first, or the bottom part, we'll say is about 4 feet below where the visitors are, so they can kind of see what they're doing in the water. So we'll say that's 1,036. And then as it slopes up, we'll say the pool is about 8 feet deep. So we'll put it at 1,044. The gravel, so as it slopes up, the pool slopes up, the penguins can walk out onto the gravel. So we'll also say that's 1,044. And maybe as the gravel is going up this way, it's going to get increasingly higher. Maybe not too much, but that would just be 1,047, maybe 3 feet. You can kind of just feel it out, or just don't be throwing out kind of crazy numbers, right? We'll say the zookeeper section is probably going to be the same as the top of the gravel, so we'll say that's 1,047 again. And the quarantine section, same height. Important thing to know, all animal zoo exhibits have to have fencing, right? Because if we think about this section, we don't want visitors just to walk into the penguin exhibit, and we don't want penguins walking out. So we also have to define or show how tall our fences are. And for non-lethal animals in a zoo, the typical size is about 12 feet above normal. So we'll put this at 1,052, right? Because that's 12 feet above 1,040. This exhibit does not have a tree, but maybe if your animal needed trees, or maybe some type of bird or something that does well in trees or gets food there, nests there, you're going to want to draw a tree. So for that, you might want to think about, okay, maybe you can draw kind of a tree like that, and maybe say roughly 30 feet above the sidewalk, or it's 30 feet high. So just go ahead and write that dot, and then 1,070. So, also one more thing before I forget. So within the visitor section, you remember the initial sketch, there were these stairways, and there's kind of this platform above, and then you just kind of write that in. Maybe that was 8 feet above the visitor section here, so maybe that's 1,048. So each part of your exhibit, again, needs to have the feet above sea level, and it's going to kind of change. It definitely wants to be somewhere around 1,400. The second part of the scale drawing, this is the first part, is the side view of your exhibit. Okay, so if we scroll down here, you can either, if you have space in here, do the side level view in here. I'm just going to go the next page so you can see it okay. So side level view of your exhibit. Thinking about the penguins again. So the visitors walk up and there's a pool. Okay, so this is kind of above ground. And say you're at the zoo, maybe you kind of look like this, right? And let's go back, we'll show some water here. And we'll show a really nicely drawn penguin here, right? There's its beak, there's its flippers, right? You've seen penguins look just like that. And then as we draw it, we also want to take in consideration what other things we could be seeing. So maybe we'll show the gravel above here. And also thinking about the visitor section, it kind of slopes up. There's this platform for viewing, and then it can kind of stretch along here. Okay, so it has a little bit of everything. So this way, this person is walking around, having a good time enjoying the zoo, walk up to the stairs, and then kind of look down onto the penguins. So that's pretty much it. Your scale drawing, again, needs to have two things, the side level view and the bird's eye view with feet above sea level for each section of the exhibit. Make sure you go off the initial sketch, and I am here if you have any emails or questions. Have a good day.